Hey, welcome everybody. You have tuned in to the RD435 rotary die cutter demonstration. On this demo, we're going to be cutting wine labels. It is a 6-up design that has a kiss cut as well as a full stripping application. So on the conveyor, all you have is finished wine labels. Before we get going, I do want to set a little bit of groundwork on the demonstration. While we are standing by live to answer your questions and take your calls, we did turn the questions and comment sections off for this demonstration. Reason being is we have a lot of end users and dealers on the call, and for the sake of time, we just wanted to leave those off, get through it. We're going to answer a lot of the commonly asked questions along the way, but if you do have any questions regarding your specific application or the machine itself, we are standing by live to take your call. We have a special number we set up. It's 888-202-5579. So again, if you have questions now during the demo or after the demo, feel free to reach out to us. We can get those questions answered pretty quickly. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the demo. What we have today, like I said, it is a wine label. It is a 6-up design. It does a kiss cut and a stripping application, which we'll see after it's been die cut. One of the things I like to point out on every demonstration I do is this black registration mark. Each of your sheets will need to have that mark shown on, printed on the sheets. That mark is used for alignment purposes and timing of when it enters into the cutting cylinders. So really, really important feature. We'll look at that sensor here in a second, but that is the design we'll be doing today. With that said, let's go ahead and turn our focus to the die cutter itself. I have Sophia here with me today, and she's going to help us kind of get some close-up shots of the machine. So, Sophia, if you want to come on in, let's start down here with the pile feeder. So it is an 8-inch pile feed capacity, so quite a bit of capacity there. For some of your longer runs. You can see in the top of the screen in the back there is a paper retarder system that virtually eliminates double feeds. The slots here you can see are for airflow to get you that nice fluff of the paper. So if you pull back, you can actually see the adjustment knobs. The one over here to the right is the pile feeder height adjustment. And the one over here to the left is the airflow adjustment for minimum or maximum air, depending on your paper weight. Moving on through the machine here, we can actually look. Coming to our first, one of our first sensors here is a ultrasonic double sheet detection system. That's by 6 sensors out of Germany, very, very high-end double sheet detection system. Moving on, we come to the registration table and our marble rack. This is for alignment of the sheets as right before they get into this cutting cylinder. Past the alignment table, there is your registration mark sensor. So each of your sheets will actually pause there for fractions of a second to actually register right there and time itself as to when it enters into the cutting cylinder. Moving into the back of the machine, you can see at the top here we have adjustable pressure gauges. These are really, really nice feature of the machine in that you're able to cut various thicknesses of paper with the same die. So if I wanted to cut 100-pound text and 160-pound double thick cover paper, I could do that with the same die by increasing or decreasing the amount of pressure I put on the cutting cylinder. Moving down here, you can actually see this. I will call out there is a guard here normally, but we removed it for this demonstration. This is the actual magnetic cylinder. It's an upper magnetic cylinder, and it does already have the die wrapped around there. It's a really thin sheet of metal. We'll look at one here in a second. But that's what the die looks like. Here is the stripping mechanism right here. And how this works is there is a lower anvil, a solid anvil cylinder down below. You can't see it. It's under the machine. And as the sheets roll through those two cylinders, the upper magnetic and the lower cylinder, the die actually does the cutting, and then it goes through the stripping mechanism. So your scrap, you'll see here in a second, your scrap is diverted down while your finished pieces end up on the conveyor table. On the conveyor, we do have a sensor then as pieces are passed that do advance them forward, or we have the option of a simple on-off with an adjustment knob there. All right. So with that said, let's go over to the HMI screen. So here is the HMI screen. This is the brains of the whole machine. This is what the operator is going to be looking at, what they're going to be seeing. It is incredibly intuitive. There's not a lot of secondary or third screens that you're going to need to navigate to set up jobs or to run the machine. What you're looking at is where you're going to spend 99% of your time. So we can kind of quickly go across here and look at some of the buttons. The one here at the top is just your single sheet feed. Pretty self-explanatory. You hit that button, it's just going to feed one sheet. Over to the right is your feed auto. The feed auto can be, when you hit that, it's going to run in two different ways depending on how you have it set up. You're either going to have it, if you have it in batch mode, it's going to run whatever batch you have set up. If you turn batch mode off, which currently it is, you can see my finger down there, batch is off, it's going to run continuous until you run out of paper in the pile feeder. So those are the two ways to do it. Then to the right is just your all stop if you need to stop operation of the machine. Over here to the left, you have your elevator controls for your pile feeder. It moves that up and down. Paper jog if you want to move a paper backwards and forwards out of the cutting cylinder. The cut adjust, this is for alignment purposes and getting your cut where you want it to be in terms of is it cutting in your design that you have. So this cut adjust talks to the registration mark sensor, and it adjusts the timing of when that sheet enters the cylinder, so you can move your cuts back and forth. A couple of various other buttons, your feed roller release if you want to feed a sheet manually. Your feed speed, currently we're at 100% feed speed. And then over here to the right is your batch. So this black box over here to the far right, these last two columns here, this is your batch mode, and this gets used quite a bit. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Batch mode, it's either an on or off. I just turned it on because we're going to set up a batch here. It's asking how many sheets you want, how many batches you want, and what your delay is. So let's go ahead and actually get a job set up so we can actually see it run. So we've turned batch mode on. Let's go ahead and set up a batch of 5 sheets with 3 batches. So 5 sheets and 3 batches, and we'll set up a delay of 10 seconds per batch, or per in between each batch. With the batch delay, it is a numeric value. So whatever you type in, that is what your delay is going to be in terms of seconds. 10 is 10 seconds. 60 is 60 seconds. So whatever your operator wants to put in there, depending on how much time they need to collect pieces or organize pieces or whatever they need to do, that would be your batch delay. So 10 seconds is plenty though. So there we go. We got 5 sheets set up with 3 batches and a 10-second delay. So with that said, just to recap, in case you just joined us, we're going to be cutting a wine label with a 6-up design that has a kiss cut and a stripping, so it strips out the piece as well. So we have finished pieces that are going to exit the table, and let's go ahead and watch it run. All right, so let's go ahead and hit feed. You can see the pile feeder will come up into position here. Sophia's going to walk you through the paper stages. Pile feeder came up into position, feeding our first batch. There's 3. And there is the end of our first batch. 10-second delay. You can see the scrap is being diverted down. You can put any kind of waste receptacle down there that you want to catch the scrap. There is the end of our second batch. that is the end of our third batch. So we just ran 30, turn that off, 30 of our wine labels. And you can see, let me put that stack down. This is what they look like when they came out. You can see it has a cut right here on both sides, and the wine label's wrapped around. And when I say it's kiss cut and it is also cut, what I mean by that is it is cut as a solid finished piece label, but it is also kiss cut. Let's see if I can get this on camera here. And there is our first tear out and our second tear out. So there's the label itself with our two punch outs. So that's what the kiss cut is. Separates from the backing. So that concludes the operational portion of the demo. But I do want to answer some questions, commonly asked questions that we do get on a regular basis, primarily being around the dies themselves. As the manufacturer of the die cutter, we do not manufacture the dies. There's a couple players in the industry in the United States that make dies for all the rotary die cutters on the market. We have partnered with a company called Impact up in Elkhart, Indiana, just about a half an hour north of us. They make a very high quality die, very long lasting die. So we can get you contact information or make introductions if we need to on the die ordering process. They make it very streamlined for you. You send them whatever design template you want, and they make a die for you based on that design. So let's go actually to the back of the machine here real quick, and I will show you the actual die and how to remove it from the machine and how quick that is. So Sophia, if you want to come back in over here, I'm going to hit the emergency stop down here. And the emergency stop will actually allow you to move the cylinder relatively easily here with just one hand. If you can zoom in here, you can see there is the leading edge of the die and there is the trail edge of the die. There is a slight gap in between the two ends of the dies. All you're going to do is you're going to take a die removing tool such as this, and you're going to slide it underneath the corner over here. I'm doing this with my wrong hand. And you're going to break that magnetism and easily get your finger up there underneath it to break the magnetism and unroll the die from the machine. So that is what the dies look like. They're a thin piece of metal that have die cutting lines etched out. We have a piece of foam covering the die. This is called release lining foam, and the purpose of it is to help eject the finished pieces out from the die so they don't get lodged into the actual die cutting outline. So that is the die. I go back over to our main camera here. So with that said, that does conclude our RD435 rotary die cutter demonstration of our wine labels. Again, if you have any questions during the demonstration that came up about your application or the machine, we are standing by right now to take your calls. 888-202-5579. We're going to get ready for our next demonstration that we have coming up. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks.